My name is Michael, and I was 8 years old when this story took place. I was watching TV when my mom had to go work. After she left the house, I locked the door and went back to watching TV. It had been a few hours after my mom left, and everything was fine. Until I heard a knock at the door. I thought it was my mom, so I went to open it. When I was walking to the front door, for some reason, something felt off. I went in the living room and looked out the window. Standing at the front door wasn't my mom. It was a man. I went to open the door so I could find out what he needed. When I opened the door, the man asked if my mom was home. I stupidly said no. He told me, "Oh, okay," and left. I went back to watching TV after I locked the doors. After a few minutes, I wanted to play with my toys which were in my room. I was walking to my room when I heard the noise of glass shattering. My heart raced and I felt frozen. The sound was coming from inside my room. I heard footsteps in my door opening. I ran to the living room and hid. He yelled, "Come out, Michael." I was so scared and thought I was going to die. I could see his feet stop in front of my hiding spot. He dragged me out and laughed. He was holding a knife and was going to stab me. Before he could do anything, the front door opened. The police immediately handcuffed the man. I asked the police how they knew this man was here. The police said my neighbor saw a man breaking into my house and called the police. It turns out the man that was arrested had escaped from prison for murdering someone. I was 21 when I moved out from my parents' house. I had saved enough money to move out and had finally found a house I could afford. It had been a few days after I moved in and I was starting to settle down. I had invited my friend over to hang out. She needed to go to the toilet, so I started to cook lunch. I had finished cooking lunch and my friend wasn't finished yet. I was walking to my bathroom and I had a feeling that something was wrong. I went to my bathroom and my friend was just standing at the mirror. I walked up to her and saw her blank expression. I asked if she was okay, but she didn't reply. I told her to snap out of it, but nothing worked. It was like she was lifeless. She looked at me for a few seconds and turned back. I didn't know what to do, so I looked in the mirror. I saw my friend dead inside of the mirror. There was someone standing next to her laughing. I turned my head and saw that my friend was dead in real life. I looked back to the mirror and saw the person was missing. My reflection started to change into an image of me dead. My friend's reflection started to fade. I was scared and could hardly breathe. I work in a mental hospital. I have a patient named Anne, and I'm assigned to look after her. She's around 40 years old and is diagnosed with psychosis. This causes her to have hallucinations and difficulty figuring out what is real and what isn't. I had a night shift when Anne rang the bell. This meant she needed help. When I went to her room, I asked what was wrong. Anne told me there was someone under her bed. I was sure it was just her hallucinations, but I still told her I would check anyways. I checked under the bed and there was nothing there. I told Anne that there was nobody here and that everything was okay. I left her room and went to do other work. Around 5 minutes later, she rang the bell again. I went into her room, and she told me there was someone under her bed again. This time I was a bit irritated, but I checked again. Of course, there was nobody under the bed. I told her again that there was nobody here and to go to sleep. I left her room to continue doing other work. After 10 minutes she rang her bell again. I was getting mad, but I still had to go to her room in case it was an emergency. I was in her room, and she said there was someone under her bed again. This time I just told her there was nobody there without looking. Then I left. I'm 21, but this story took place when I was 16. My parents work a lot, so I have to walk to school and walk back home. Normally I walk with my friends since we are neighbors, but one day, he was sick. So I walked home alone. For some reason, something felt off while I was walking. I thought it was just because I wasn't walking with my friend. But then I heard footsteps behind me. I looked back and saw a man. I walked faster but he kept following me. I felt him get closer until I could feel his hot breath on my neck. I froze and heard him say, "I'm going to murder you." I turned and he tried to grab me. I kicked him and ran as fast as I could. I saw him get up and run after me. I saw he was holding a knife in his hand. I thought I was going to die because my house was far. That was until I saw my friend getting the mail. He saw the man chasing me. He quickly opened the door to let me in. We called the police and waited. The police came and found the man hiding in my friend's backyard.
It was midnight on Sunday when this story took place. I was bored, so I decided to go on the deep web and saw a few sites. All the sites were blocked except for one. The description said that it was a site that murdered people. I thought it was fake, so I decided to just click on it. When I joined, it said, "A new user has joined. Greet 7K9P." Apparently this was my username for the site. I was confused, but I continued to watch anyways. It showed a woman on the floor that was dead. I was horrified. A man came on screen and asked who's next. Everyone on chat started to type. They all voted for 7K9P. I was shocked, wondering what was going to happen to me. I tried to turn off my laptop, but it wasn't working. I saw that the man was showing my house. I kept trying to turn my laptop off, but it wasn't working. I saw the screen and he was at my front door. I always love to go hunting for deers at night. I don't do it for the fun of it, I do it so I can feed my family. There's a watchtower in the middle of the forest that I would always go to. Up the tower I would be able to see and hear when there's a deer nearby. That night when I was waiting for a deer to come, I heard a noise. When I looked closely, it wasn't a deer but a person. It was a man. He was wearing all black. Black hoodie, black pants and black shoes. I saw that he was dragging something behind him. It looked like a body bag. I was so scared, it looked like he was going to bury a dead body. I kept looking at him until he stopped and looked straight at me. I crouched down and hid from him, hoping that he didn't see me. I then heard someone climbing the wooden ladder up the watchtower.
This story happened on my birthday. I was turning 18 and my brother got me a night vision goggles as my birthday present. He knew I've always wanted to see animals in the dark living in their natural habitat. After we celebrated my birthday party, I waited until it was night. I took my night vision goggles and drove to a nearby forest. I wore my night vision goggles and went into the forest. Because of how late it was, there weren't much animals. I thought that if I climbed a tree it would blend me in with the environment and make less noise so more animals would come out. I was on the tree and waited for around 10 minutes. Nothing interesting happened until I heard a twig snap. I looked around thinking it was an animal. I couldn't see an animal, but I could see the silhouette of a man slowly approaching me. It looked like he was searching for something really sneakily. I thought he was looking for animals as well until I heard him say, "Damn it, where did the girl go?" That's when I realized he was looking for me. I sat in the tree trying to make as little noise as possible until he was gone. I ran to my car and drove home. I live in an old farmhouse that was given to me by my parents. I have a dog named Lucy, and she is my best friend. I like living in the farmhouse, but there was an abandoned shed that creeped me out. I never went into it because I thought it was scary. Every night Lucy would bark at the abandoned shed, but this particular night she barked more aggressively and wouldn't stop. So I had to bring her inside the house and decided to go figure out what was bothering Lucy. I grabbed my flashlight and headed outside. I was walking towards the abandoned shed, not thinking much of it, until a foul stench hit me. It smelled like rotten flesh. I quickly turned off my flashlight as I realized that there was light beaming out from the window. I walked towards the window and peeked in. I then saw a creepy man facing away from me. When I looked closer, I saw that he was butchering a dead body. It looked like he was going to eat the dead body as there was a boiling pot next to him. I tried to sneak away, but he heard me.
This happened when I was still in high school. I was taking my little sister for a walk in the pram. We were walking around our neighborhood when I saw a bunch of police cars parked in front of the park. As I was approaching closer, all the police officers were surrounding the creek at the park. What I saw haunted me till this day. A police officer was carrying a little boy out of the creek. As I focus on the little boy more, he was blue in color and appeared lifeless. Before I realized that the little boy was dead, a police officer was telling me to leave. A few years later, me and my little sister revisited the park. I saw a little boy reaching for a ball that was in the creek. He then accidentally fell in. When I ran to help him, there was no one there. I was studying at my friend's house when it got late. I left her house and caught the bus. Usually while I'm on the bus I would listen to music, but for some reason, my earphones weren't working. I decided to just leave them on anyways since my bag was full. I was getting sleepy when I heard two men speaking in my language. One of the men said that they should kidnap me when I leave the bus. I was scared, so I messaged my mom to pick me up. The men behind me kept talking about how much money they were gonna make. A few moments later, the bus arrived at my stop. I tried to get out the bus as quick as I could. I didn't want to stay with those creeps anymore. I saw they were about to stalk me until they saw my mom pull up.
I live in a small neighborhood. This means my parents knows most of my neighbors. Except for the creepy old man who lives in front of us. He would only go out of his house at exactly 7 a.m. When he left his house, he would water his garden and go back inside house. I had invited my best friend over for a sleepover when we saw the old man leave his house. We decided to watch him through the window and saw him putting food in front of the metal bars attached on his wall. He went back in his house and we thought it was just strange until we saw a skinny hand grab the food from inside the metal bar. We were so scared and were thinking about calling the police. Neither of us had a phone, so we couldn't call the police. Instead, we decided to go and investigate with flashlights. We went and approached his house. He left his door unlocked, so we went in. We saw a basement door and went in. We saw a skinny girl chained to the wall. We screamed and were going to leave when the basement door closed and we were locked inside.